Test 1, 2. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, people. This is me, Jordan Long. This is episode 1, season 1 of what we're going to call, I guess, JO Unlimited. Long story short, I'm driving over here and I'm thinking about, because I had different ideas of actually playing with the name of what the show is going to be called. And I actually came to a fart. I liked one name, and I didn't know what name to choose, and I got stuck. I literally actually got stuck. I'm just kind of like, oh, should I call it JO Unlimited? Can I call it Jordan Long? Should I JO Unlimited? Should I call it the Low Country Motorcycle Show? I was kind of like, oh crap. So I literally got stuck. So believe it or not, I was still kind of pissed off. So I'm actually going to ask for your help. And people who I'm talking to right about now is AMA champ, runner-up, and two-time Super Sport champion, Josh Herrin. We are actually at his house, Herrin Compound, in Dublin, Georgia. So say hi, Josh.
Hey, what's up, guys? Just got done with a long day yesterday of riding with people out at the track and doing a little bit of coaching and ready to do it again today. Get a little interview in before we go out and have some fun.
For people who don't know who Josh is, I'll let him explain who he is, what he's been doing, his deal or his life story, I guess you could say. We'll try to short it up as much as we can, but later on, hopefully we'll be able to do another interview with him or try to expand on it and then kind of go from there. But Josh Herrin, me and him met, 2009, 2008, 2009?
Around there, yeah.
Road Atlanta. This is when, it wasn't your rookie year, was it?
No. That would have been, let's see, if it was 09, that would have been 2 years. I started in 06. 06 was my rookie year. We did half the year, and then 07 was the first year I was on the full Yamaha team, Graves Yamaha team. So, yeah, 09 would have been the first year we did the DMG stuff with AMA. So
right.
Daytona Sport Bike class.
Yeah. So we met over there, and from there we pretty much been tag teaming back and forth whenever we can. You're a busy guy. You're a lot more busy than I am. Hopefully this interview will make me a lot more busier. But long story short, for the people who don't know who you are, like we talked off camera, I want you to explain how significant you are to not just motorcycles, to not just motorcycle racing, to the brand of Graves Yamaha, to the brand of U.S. Motorcycle racing. I haven't touched on that. I want you to kind of explain that. If you can start from when you first started to, I guess, shortened to where we're at right now.
All right. Well, I'm 25 years old right now. Started racing when I was about 6 years old. We weren't. Then in the U.S., you had to be, at least in the clubs I was racing in, you had to be, a certain age to start racing. So we had to lie about my age for a couple of years, at least till I turned 8, I think. So we raced YSR 50s. That was pretty much the bike that was available to ride then. So we started racing on that and raced all up and down California until I was like 11 when we figured out this is what we really wanted to do. During the summers, sometimes we would take some road trips across the United States and go hit up all the other clubs in the U.S.
So this is while mom's still working. Mom's working. You're out, 11-year-old, running around the country.
Well, my mom didn't work. She had, there was 4 of us, so she was a full-time mom. But my dad was working. He was building. Let's see, then he was in California, so he was building like gazebos and patios, pool houses, stuff like that. So yeah, we would go around the country. Like I think one or two summers we went around the country, did a road trip. Ended up in Oregon. Met these guys that owned a company imported for a company called MetroKit, which was a new mini bike, little Grand Prix bike, 2-stroke. that they were starting to import into the U.S. They had some MotoGP rider, maybe a test rider, and an up-and-coming Spanish CEV rider.
That's big.
Yeah, it was big for us, especially. Just people that are racing mini bikes in the U.S., which is kind of a small thing.
But to Spain and to Europe, that's their platform.
Yeah.
That's what they do everything. And we'll kind of talk on that later about how backwards we are. That's another story. We won't go there.
Yeah. So it was a big deal for us to see those people there, and it put a big target. It put a big target on them for me at least, and I was on an outdated. YSRs they're still good bikes to grow up riding, but it was a 1980s bike. So you had to just kind of jimmy it up into a race bike and paint it up, make it look nice, but it was definitely outdated compared to what they were on, and we were able to run with them and I think beat them in a couple classes, and that kind of caught their eye, and so I got 2 of those bikes for free the next year. It was kind of like I don't know if you could call it like that I was a factory rider at that age, because really it was just an importer.
Right.
But they gave us 2 bikes, sent us all the parts we needed, raced on those for a little while. Tommy Aquino ended up, I grew up racing with Tommy Aquino. He ended up getting on that bike too. Then we ended up going to Spain when I was 13 and Tommy was 11 or 12, and racing against, it was supposed to be the top 50 mini bike riders in the world. Like, they were supposed to find the best guys on those bikes, which pretty much every kid was on those bikes at this time.
Gotcha.
And we went and raced over there. We were supposed to get everybody was supposed to be on bone stock bikes. It ended up being me and Tommy, out of 50 riders, were the only 2 on stock bikes. We got them out of the crates. New track, new everything. We had like a 20-minute session at Valencia. This is at Valencia, so it's a MotoGP track. It's huge for these bikes. We were on 80s.
Holy cow.
And so we're going 106 miles an hour on an 80 down the front straightaway, which is a mile long. It takes like 20 seconds for us to get down the straightaway. But we got very limited time on the track when all these kids grew up riding there through the CV stuff.
That's their back door.
And so it was really, compared to what we thought it was going to be, it was a good experience, but we got kind of robbed. Everybody showed up on their own bikes, here we are on these stock bikes, got to break them in, and just never been to the track. We ended up finishing, I think, the best result we had was 6th. I finished 6th. Tommy finished 7th. And then the second race, I was in like 9th, and he was in 12th or 13th. And I ran off the track. I got up to a lapper, and I got ran off in the gravel. Since it's MotoGP gravel pits, they're like a foot deep in gravel, so it was almost impossible to get the bike out. I got it out somehow. Ended up finishing like 13th. So Tommy got the overall. He was top American overall finish, and I was second. But I'm pretty sure, I've never gone back and looked, but I think like Maverick Vinales was racing. I know Scott Redding was racing. We beat Scott Redding. So that was a big deal because we had talked to him and his uncle. His uncle was the one that brought him racing. That was a big deal for us to beat him just because he was like one of the top German kids from what they had told us.
So you pimp slapped Scott.
Yeah.
You pimp slapped him.
It was.
At 11 years old. Come on now. Say it.
But we all had, he was on his own bike, so that was the only thing that he had, plus-wise, but we all had to learn new tracks. And I think, my dad raised me on bikes going to different tracks all the time, so it kind of, I learned them quick. At least I felt like I picked them up pretty quick, so I had an advantage, I think, with learning tracks. But we did beat them, which is, that's something I still talk about today. It's pretty cool. They get a lot more opportunities in Europe than we do, so
right.
To see those guys there, and we, beat them by 20, 30 seconds in the race when we were 13, it meant a lot. I think he was like a year younger than me, but still, he was on his own bike and not traveling 12 hours on a flight to get somewhere. He was pretty close. So after that, we came back to the U.S., raced 125s in USGPRU. That was a really cool experience.
Which they're still running down in Florida.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're running them all over. I think USGPRU still runs cross country, but they piggyback with other clubs. But
CCS. Yeah.
We won the 125 national championship, which was like the overall U.S. championship. We won the West Coast championship, and I think came in like top 3 in 250 on our 125, which there wasn't many 250s, but still pretty cool. After that, we got a call. We were in talks. Actually, we had some friends at that point in Europe, and so in connection with Mexican Derby, and they had been doing the 125 team. We got offered, or at least we were in talks with them to do 125 GP, but we ended up going with Graves. We met Chuck Graves at the last race at VIR in 04. That was 2004 that I won the championship, and at the end of the year at VIR, we met Chuck Graves. My dad had known him, but they were there testing, so I met him at the team, and whenever he saw us win the championship, he decided to help us out, and it just seemed like a better route at the time. It's hard to say what I would have done looking back at it now. I probably would have tried to go to 125 just because that ended up being my dream to go race MotoGP, and that
time travel. Yeah. Time travel. We need time travel.
That would have been the best route, was because I would have been 14 years old going to 125 GP, or at least in CEV or something. I don't know what we would have ended up in, but we had the path to go, and we decided to stay here, which was a good route. I mean, I don't have any regrets. Working with Chuck, I've been working with Chuck Graves now since then, 04, so 11 years. So that's been awesome. So we ended up doing the stuff with Chuck and Yamaha for WERA in 2005, won the WERA 600 Superbike Championship and some GNF championships at Road Atlanta. And I think we were runner-up to Blake Young for the Horizon Award, but he was a little bit older than me, so that was my first year on the 600. We were at Mid-Ohio, and he'd been there a few times, and he was already on, a full deal with KWS. And so he'd already run some AMA stuff, been top 15 in AMA, which was a pretty stacked field back then. We ended up racing against guys like Robert Jensen, Brian Stokes, which were all, Scott Jensen had finished on the podium in AMA numerous times that year that I was racing with him. So I remember I beat him for the first time. That was like huge. It was like beating Matt Mladen. I didn't turn 16 till the middle of 2006. So we raced WERA. Actually, it was 2006 that I beat Jensen. It was the beginning of 06, which was the year I should have been going to AMA, but I had to wait till May because I didn't turn 16 till May.
And May being pretty much the beginning of the season.
Yeah. So
for people who don't know, because people are just like, oh yeah, race season starts depending on the north, race season doesn't start until May.
but we missed. I mean, I think we missed 3 rounds. I think we missed Daytona, maybe Barber, and one other round. That was, So we went to Road America actually we back it up a little bit. We went to a test at Utah when I was still 15 at Miller Motorsports Park. This was when Roger Hayden was on Kawasaki still. Jamie Hacking was on R6 at Yamaha. DeSalvo was there. Ben Attar, Damon Buckmaster, Aaron Gobert. It was stacked. Tommy Hayden, Tony Meyering. There was a bunch of guys that were really fast. Jake Zemke, Josh Hayes was on the 600. And we went to the Miller test, which was the first couple times they rode at Miller. They hadn't actually, I don't think they had raced there. I think 06 was the first year we raced there. And I was second quickest on our own bike. This was like me and my dad's bike. Chuck Graves built it, but me and my dad were the ones wrenching on it and stuff.
You guys set it up.
Yeah, and with help from them, but it was mainly me and my dad, and I think Mike Fitzgerald, Thermos Man. We at the test we were like second quickest, which was awesome. I mean, that's what kind of kick-started my first run with AMA, which was at Road America. This was like the weekend after my birthday, like May 19th. Or no, May 20, somewhere at the end of May.
Like May 22nd, somewhere?
And we ended up qualifying pretty bad. Me and Michael Beck were like kind of teammates. We were still on a supported deal with Graves. This was still me and my dad wrenched on my bikes for 06. And we qualified like in the top 15, somewhere between 10th and 15th, I think. And ended up running like in the top 5, like the whole race with Ben Spies, all these guys, Roger, Tommy, Ben Attard, like all these quick guys. And finished 6th, right behind Spies. I think Spies finished 5th, I finished 6th. Which the Yosh bike wasn't that good at the time, and the G6R wasn't that great of a 600 bike. at least in that class. But I still finished right behind him, and it was like kick-started everything. I was like, wow, I can run with these guys. At the time, these were guys that I had, like I said, at Miller when I got on the podium, I had pictures of all these guys on my walls. I got like a couple months before, I was still getting their
They're your childhood heroes.
Yeah.
Now you're literally gridding up with them and going down the front straight of Miller, which is a mile and a half. I mean, that's an accomplishment on itself.
That was, so yeah, we finished 6th at Road America, which was awesome.
Another big, fast, hard track.
But then when we went to Miller, which was the next round, we had a test there. Road America had to learn. So we had a test at Miller already, like I said, and so we were able to be on pace already with the guys from the first practice. But I wasn't very good at practice, like at least lap time wise and qualifying. I suck at it. So we qualified, I don't know where at Miller, but it was like maybe top 10, in the back of the top 10, maybe even worse. And we ended up battling the entire race. Jamie Hacken kind of pulled away. I think he won by like 5 seconds. But me, Roger, and Danny Eslick, Roger Hayden, Danny Eslick, we pulled away from everybody, I think, for the most part, and had a good battle. Danny dropped off at the end a little bit, and me and Roger duked it out for the second spot on the podium. And he ended up nipping me because I was trying to get block lines and didn't work out. But I was only 16 and I just got on the podium. I was the youngest rider to ever get on AMA podium. And I think actually Road America I had the best debut race too for an AMA racer. But then whenever they added on the super sport class later on when DMG took over, that kind of ruined all the records that I had done, which was total bullshit because it's those were earned accomplishments. And super sport, I'm not taking anything away from it, but it's a beginner. It's like a entry class
into your pro level, into your pro career.
So for them to take away my awards, and no offense to Elena, but when Elena Myers won at Daytona in super sport, when DMG was taken over, she became the youngest to ever win a race. And it's we were going 5 seconds a lap quicker than her. How is that? How should she take away my...
I really think because the female male kind of aspect kicks in, and the rules that DMG was carrying on, my personal opinion, was really half-assed.
Yeah.
They just kind of threw everything together. Once they bought the rights, it was kind of like, oh, okay, we can do whatever we want. And ruined, this is my personal opinion, completely ruined professional motorcycle racing in the U.S.
Yeah.
From when the AMA had it, they had a decent platform that they was trying to expand on it. And with the budget cuts and everything and the whole economy, the whole world economy going into crap, understand they had to sell it. But either you rewrite the books and do something completely different, or you keep it the same. Mostly going to keep the name.
Yeah, it sucked because they didn't do either.
Exactly.
They kept it the same. They kept the books the same when they started, but then they just took their crappy classes and
added, took away. Yeah, stupid.
So that's something that I wish could get changed to this day because I'd still be the youngest to win a race, at least in those levels. They shouldn't have that. It'd be like saying that the KTM kids win a race at 14, so they're the youngest to win. That's stupid. But it's in the past, anyways. Finished 3rd at Miller, and then the rest of the year sucked. I think I was on this wave of confidence, and then when I didn't do good, it kind of just upset me. And I was a kid, and I just didn't do good after that. But 2007 started. We kind of fast forward. 2007 was the first year on the full Graves Yamaha team, which was a factory 600 team, pretty much. They did a factory effort for Full Extreme, but Chuck was the 600 team for Yamaha.
So 06 was you. Was that Aaron Goldberg?
07? Well, 07 was my first year. No, 07 was, let's see. 07 would have been me, Jason DeSalvo, Jamie Hacking, and Eric Bostrom. But I was the only one in super sport.
Yeah. Okay. I remember always seeing that poster, and I could never get everybody's name because I remember they had 3 or 4 classes, and Chuck was trying to cover everything. He was trying to literally cover all the bets, and it was just like, holy cow. Sometimes it was almost, I think it was you and Aaron in was it Formula Extreme or another teammate of yours was like battling for the win, and then somebody else is like on super bikes, and it was just kind of like almost dangling out there. If they can get it win, they can get a win. If they can't, oh well, because they still got the Yoshimura and Suzuki teams, factory blowing everybody out the water.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I think that might have been a year before me, because they did Super Stock, they did Formula Extreme. Those were the two classes, and Super Sport. It was, yeah, I don't know. That was a long time ago.
That was the Pogo years when you would literally jump from one bike, whether it be the 600,
so that was
straight onto another bike. So
that was Aaron Gobert that was on the team then. Whenever I went, he had left. He went to Arion, I think. But yeah, they do Super Stock and then Super Sport, or Formula Extreme Super Stock. So yeah. So then 07 to 2011, I was on the 600 trying to win a championship. We never won. We were always second or third, had engines blowing, or I made mistakes, or Danny Eslick was taking us out or something. It was always something. But we did win the 200. We won the Daytona 200 in 2010, which was a huge accomplishment. I was the youngest to ever do that on the asphalt. The Daytona 200 started on the sand, so for some reason they count that, which is, I guess, goes back to what I said in 06. That guy was literally the youngest to win it. Why should they take it away even though it was on the sand? So, but I was the youngest to win on the asphalt, which was a cool thing for me. My name will always be there. That's like one of those things that, AMA might have its ups and downs and change the rules and change the accomplishments, but winning a 200, that'll always be in the record books. My name's up there with Russell, Duhamel, all those guys that are, big heroes of mine. So that's pretty cool. Then we got on the Superbike in 2012 and 2013. 2012 was a learning year. It took me a little bit to get used to that bike. That bike was kind of big and bulky. So it took a little bit, and my fitness wasn't there, but we were always, on the podium, I think. We finished behind Blake Young and Josh Hayes all the times, beat Blake once or twice.
Yep. He wasn't happy about that, I can say that.
No. So it was a fun year. Ended up breaking my collarbone like right before the final round at NOLA. I was fighting with Roger Hayden for third in the championship, which was a big deal because he'd been on superbikes for a long time.
Yeah.
And broke my collarbone flat tracking, didn't make the round, so we finished fourth, but I got top rookie, which wasn't a huge accomplishment just because it was.
You want the big trophy. You want the big run.
Well, yeah, I want the championship, but it just wasn't. By that time the AMA stuff kind of died off. That was when it was dying off, and there wasn't as many factory teams, and there wasn't as many riders, so that kind of sucked. It was cool to get it, but it just didn't feel like it should have. So then 2013 we won the. That was kind of the first competitive year, on the Superbike. Hayes had some mechanicals at Daytona, but whenever he did, I was right behind him. I felt like I could have stayed with him either way. So we got the win there, and then I got really bad arm pump the second race, finished second behind Cardenas. So after that race, got my first Superbike win, and then immediately went and got arm pump surgery, and it fixed it kind of, but I think it was more mental, but didn't really fix it that great. So all the way throughout the year, I had some problems, but weren't as bad as they were at Daytona, but it never fixed itself. So we won a few races, but that was the year that Hayes got all the jump starts and all those penalties and stuff. So
that's when everybody was saying like he was shooting himself in the foot. It's kind of like it happens.
Yeah, and a couple of them were questionable. It was a shitty way to win a championship for sure. So I'm not trying to jump forward in the story, but now that I'm getting on a Superbike again, or at least Super Stock, it'll be a competitive bike against him. Will we be able to beat him? I don't know, but I'd like to I'm happy to at least get a second shot at it, or a third shot, I guess you'd say. But I want to go beat him heads up. I want, people to see that I actually, maybe 2013 I tried, I put in all the effort, but it hadn't been like an accumulation of years of putting in hard effort on the bicycle and the gym and stuff. So I wasn't fully ready for the Superbike, but I was a lot more prepared than I was in 2012. Got a trainer, Greg Dorenzo, so a huge part of my success in 2013 was having the trainer. We still won it, no matter what they do or no matter what anybody says, like the Daytona 200, my name will always be there. I won that championship. It was Yamaha's 5th straight or something. So that was pretty cool. I think me, Cameron Bobier, Josh Hayes, that's the 3 of us winning Superbike championships for Yamaha. I don't remember the one before that. It was like 15 years before. So no matter what anybody says, I'm one of 3 people that win a Superbike championship for them. And in 20 years, they won't be saying, "Oh, he had the jump starts." They'll be saying, "Hey, he won a Superbike championship."
Yeah,
that dude's gnarly.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that's bad about me is I always kind of think too much about what other people think, and recently I've kind of not given a shit. After Moto2, after the Superbike year, and then going to Moto2 was really rough. I don't even care anymore. I need to be myself. You don't have very long in this kind of career, and just kind of do the best you can, and hopefully you win as many races as you can and win a bunch of championships. And at the end of it, you look back as a 50-year-old guy and say, "Hey, I did that." I'm one of a couple guys that can actually do that. So
my name is on the history books.
Yeah. So it doesn't really matter what Josh Hayes says. Oh, it was because I had jump starts or whatever. If you actually did it, and he was always supportive about it. It wasn't like he talked shit about it, but it's one of those things. As a rider, you're like, man, if I wouldn't have had those jump starts, or if my bike wouldn't have broke at Daytona, of course, he probably would have won.
Yeah.
But you did.
It's a case of shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah, exactly. Just like my years were on the 600. I had many rotten years on the 600 where, hey, we're going to win, and then I made a stupid mistake, or, the motor blew, and it wasn't my fault. I was riding it hard, but it wasn't my fault. I had a lot of those years. Would have made a lot more money, would have had a lot more championships, and yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but didn't work out that way, and here we are now. Won a championship, got to race in Europe, and raced against my heroes my whole life. Made a career out of motorcycle racing. May not have been when it was in its prime, making millions, but we're making good money and having fun, and don't got to go sit at an office. Got a track in my backyard that I can, see other kids grow up racing and saying, hey, my career started because of the Herrins. We didn't know about the track, and they let us come out to that free track day, and that started my addiction to motorcycles. And then 20 years later, 10 years later, the kid's winning championships. That's cool to me. That's way bigger, that seeing kids like Ashton Yates, Jackson Blackman, Gavin Anthony, all these kids come up through here. This little girl, Kayla Yakov, it's just, that's what's cool. You learn, as you learn as you get older, there's more meaning to life than what you're doing. Whenever you see kids coming up through this and experiencing what you had, and maybe if it wasn't for you, they wouldn't be getting to do that. That's what's cool. It's almost like having a kid of your own. I don't know what that feels like, but
soon.
I'd imagine that's kind of the feeling. You're like, wow, maybe because of my help, this kid did that. I kind of feel how people feel like maybe when they help me.
That's accomplishment. That's accomplishment.
And that's something that's way more rare than winning races in AMA. That's a cool thing to do, but anybody can do it. Where I'm one of few. Actually, I'm the only motorcycle racer that has built their own track for people to come do this at. So that to me is something a lot cooler than maybe some rich investor saying, "Oh, I'm going to get rich off this motorcycle track." Or it's a lot better feeling to me than even going to race in Moto2. It's just seeing other people have fun because of something that me and my family started. That's cool.
I appreciate you. I've been over at this house numerous times. Sometimes if I'm just flying through, or if not, he'll invite me out, and we hang out, we talk. We don't drink beer, so but pretty much, I appreciate you spending your time with us and kind of elaborating on who you are, what stuff you've done. You've highlighted a couple of things that you brushly shied over with, mostly with the Moto2. Let's talk about briefly your last, I call it accomplishment. Trust me, I'm going to tell you it's an accomplishment because not too many people have done what you have done in your life. Coming from your first championship, your first AMA professional not your debut, but your first professional championship, getting that first notch under your belt, other people have been like, oh, no, I'm staying here. You know, I've won my first championship here. I want to stay here. You were ballsy enough and had enough, I guess you say, cojones to actually say, you know what, at least I'm going to try. You've already had that first experience from what we just found out that you've tried battling with those guys from Europe and you was pretty competitive with them, if not beating, you know, some of the top guys who are in MotoGP right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to actually have that in the back of your mind, be like, you know what? Yeah, I probably could run with them. No one knows about that. No one even, I can guarantee 99% of my viewers right about now don't even know nothing about that. I knew a little bit about it, but like I said, I wanted you to say it. No one really knows that you've actually been out there fighting with, you know, a European championship.
Yeah.
That a lot of people right about now, they're seeing on the AMA, on the MotoGP grid.
Yeah.
And then actually going out to Moto2 completely unaware of what you're going to see, the different tracks, the different paddock layouts, the whole atmosphere. That is an accomplishment in my eyes and plenty of other people's eyes. But briefly, tell me a little bit about the Moto2 and the MotoGP atmosphere, because a lot of people won't even know what that is or actually even be able to experience that.
Yeah, it was crazy, you know, going to races and there's, you know, I mean, I think the weekend turnout was like 200,000 people, but realistically there's probably 100,000 people on race day at a track, and they're not cheering for you, but they're, you know, you're going out there racing, you know, there's 3 classes in the MotoGP
arena.
Circus, whatever you want to call it, but it's Moto3, which is 250cc bikes, Moto2, which is 600cc bikes, which is what I rode, and then MotoGP. So MotoGP is obviously the premier class, but Moto3, Moto2 are the feeder classes. Almost every racer in MotoGP right now came through Moto2, with the exception of Nicky Hayden and maybe Crutchlow and a few other guys. But the top guys all came through the Moto3, Moto2, which used to be 125 and 250. Now it all used to be 2-stroke stuff. Now it's 4-strokes. So whenever I went over there, it was kind of like, you know, I was expecting huge things. We went testing, and testing went pretty well. But whenever the season started, it just, you know, we were in 14th, which was really good for us at Qatar. And
I mean, think about it. I mean, this whole pack was 32, 35 riders minimum. And I think the top, if I remember right, half of the grid of 30 riders was literally within a second of themselves.
At Indy, I qualified. We had problems with the motor. I would have qualified. It was like coming onto the straightaway, it was going into false neutral and have to like shift out of it really quick. It just like would bounce off the rev and I'd have to put it back in gear, which sounds stupid, but it happened. And we looked at the data. I lost 0.4 of a second. That 0.4 of a second, just because that one problem, we would have been 12th on the grid, which would have been the best, you know, qualifying spot we would have ever had. But instead, we were 21st, and we were only 1 second off, and we were in 21st place. So 1st to 21st was a second, which is just crazy.
I mean, yeah, that's 0.4 and literally
10 positions.
10 positions. That's 3.5 rows.
Yeah.
Literally 3.5 rows back because of one
tiny problem.
It wasn't even a mistake. It was just a mechanical error that you couldn't get out of.
Yeah. And
that literally cost you so many positions. That's like I said, that is crazy.
So the whole Moto2 year was awesome, but it was, you know, it just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. But it was a great experience. We got to meet a lot of people. I got to travel the world, you know, racing Moto2, which was my dream. A lot of people had said that I was the first American to do like a full season in the premier class, but a lot of people forget about Stevie Bonzi, a guy named Stevie Bonzi, who Kenny Roberts brought up like early 2000s, 2004, 2005. He's a buddy of mine. He actually did 250s, 125s, and 250s. I don't know if he did like a whole year. I think he might have done.
But he was he was underrated anyway.
Yeah, I mean that dude was gnarly. He'd never road raced before. They took him off a flat track bike, and I think he finished like 6th at one of the races, which is, I mean, he was racing against probably Jorge Lorenzo at the time, all those guys. So that was gnarly. But he had a couple years under his belt in 125, so he was able to learn the tracks and stuff like that, which, I mean, Stevie's a gnarly kid. He's really fast, but if you look at it, he had no prior experience road racing. He jumped on this bike, and he was able to do that good. And I think with all the years experience that I had, if I would have actually been given the years that I was promised, 2 years on that team, we could have then and gotten off a, maybe on the Calyx instead of the Suitor. We could have been that. The deal was maybe he's the next American thing. I think I could have been. I mean, I think I am that good, but wasn't given the right opportunity. The team didn't want to hold, keep its promises, what we had contract-wise, and they were unhappy with how I was finishing, but it's because of all the pressure they were putting on me, and I just cracked. As a rider, I cracked. I mean, I cracked under pressure, but it was also an accumulation of a bunch of other things, them putting the pressure on me trying to learn the tracks, which is freaking hard. I mean, we get a couple hours of practice, but, these guys are way faster. They're going, at least they're not, maybe I don't want to say they're better riders than what's in America, but they're going a lot faster than what we go in America. So you're having to make that, I mean, the jump that I had to make was like going from high school ball to freaking NFL. I mean, it was huge. I mean, you're not going to see Demaryius Thomas go from high school straight to NFL and be Demaryius Thomas. You need something, which like what Wayne Rainey's doing now with Moto America. He's trying to get our level a little bit higher and make the bikes the same so that when we go over there, it's not that jump. It should be like going from college ball to there,
Smoother transition.
Yeah, smoother transition where I was not ready. I should have had more help from, people that was in my corner. I should have had, a little bit more guidance, at least with what to do over there and where to stay. And, hey, hook me up with this guy so I can stay over here with them instead of traveling back and forth from here. But I didn't. It's just a bunch of things, and sometimes it's not meant to be. Maybe I'll get another shot, like I hope I will, but it might take a little bit of money. I need somebody with backing to front the money to get me back there, and I know I can do it. I think these next couple of years, people will see, like, he was one of the best in America. I like to say I am the best. Have I done the best? Like, won a lot of championships? No, but we've had a lot of bad luck, and but these next couple of years, I think people will see, like, he was our best shot at it. I think he could have done that, but we, he just wasn't put on the best. Maybe the team was good. I was happy with my mechanic and crew chief and those guys, but the big guys on the team was what was hurting me, and the bike that we were on was hurting me. You saw Zarco was a consistent rider, but Zarco's really good. He's been on Suitor for 4 years.
But even look at Zarco. He was contending for maybe third or fourth place. He wasn't winning everything.
On a good day, he was battling for the podium, but he was nowhere near Tito Rabat and those guys. And he was sometimes. But as soon as he got on the Calyx and with the IO team, just dominated. I mean, that in itself tells me something.
Yeah.
Maybe I couldn't have been now all of a sudden winning if I was in his position, but
at least closer.
If I would, I would have been in the points. I know I would have. I mean, but I needed time to learn the tracks. I needed what I was promised, and I wasn't given that, and that just sucks. It'll always be something in the back of my head, like, what if? That'll never be something that I was able to finish out and see how I actually did. So I want another opportunity at it, and I would jump at it to get it again. But like I said, it takes money. I mean, you need money. I spent $100,000 of my own money traveling. I mean, just getting to the races, staying at the hotels, doing all the stuff. The team, once I got Graves on as the pipe guy, the pipe sponsor, then the team fronted for my hotels, but that was it. And that was a couple races into the series.
So literally, while you're out there traveling Europe, Spain, South Africa, yada, 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 you're actually paying for your own homes. You're paying for your own meals.
Oh, yeah. So and I was and I was in my contract, it was a $100,000 deal. I mean, that's how much I was getting paid to race for this team. And whenever they clipped me halfway through the year, I was like, nope, we're not paying you. I was like, no, like, we're going to negotiate. We negotiated. I was supposed to get $60,000. And then I just never got paid. And it was like, my management company has an office in London, so we tried to fight it. but it was going to end up being me having to go over there and get a lawyer over there. And it's like, by the time, if we would have won, they would have settled for maybe, just say they settled for $40,000. By then I would have already spent all my money trying to fight it. And what if I didn't win?
Yeah, it's not worth it. So it's almost not worth it.
So really, I spent probably 100, 150 grand racing over there just to make my career go back 3 steps and make a fool of myself, which sucked. So.
Well, guaranteed. I'm telling you right about now, you have not made a fool of yourself in American eyes, in my eyes, and I can guarantee you that you've opened the eyes of many other people and aspiring racers, motorcycle enthusiasts, just the common man, for doing what you're doing at 25 years old.
Thanks.
I'm almost twice your freaking age, and I'm looking up to you as a big brother. I mean, come on now. We don't have a lot of time right about now, people. We got to cut it short. We've got track days to do. We've got people to cater to. What we are going to do is try to schedule a part 2, possibly even a part 3, because there are plenty of questions I would like to have Josh Herrin ask or have him answer. Pardon me. One of the questions would be, what happened with the years that him and Denny Eslick was getting into it? Yeah, he's laughing about it. But another question I would want to ask Josh is, how was the camaraderie between at the time, 3 times AMA professional champion Josh Hayes and the up-and-coming star Josh Herrin, and a couple of things that Josh Hayes had said about Josh Herrin that he may not know about, questioning Josh Herrin's, not just his integrity, but in questioning why didn't he ask the 2-time champion about setting up his own motorcycle. That makes me wonder. It's just like, okay, you're the 2-time champion, 3-time champion. I'm running my own bike. I have my own team. We're on the same team together, but I have my own crew. Why should I have to lean on you for setting up my own bike? Questions. We were going to have that answered later on, people. Make sure you tune in. I do have a question for you that we can ask you before we get off air. What should I name the show?
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. That's a hard one.
We could name it, like said, the Jordan Long Show, but no one knows who I am.
The Crotch Rocket Haters. Maybe name the episode that.
Episode 1, Crotch Rocket Haters. Me and Josh both hate the term crotch rocket. They are not crotch rocket people. Okay, let's get this abundantly clear. Oh my gosh, now you're going to make me go on a rant. They are not crotch rockets. They are sport bikes. They are labeled sport bikes. You go to a dealership, you're not going to ask, hey, I want the red crotch rocket in the left, or
street bikes or road race bikes or something.
Something like that. It's calling the
you can call a Harley a crotch rocket. I don't want to be titled like that.
So you heard it from me and Josh. You can actually call a Harley a crotch rocket, because we do a whole lot more than just straight line drag racing. Our bikes are professionally made to hit corners. We are made to drag knees, which I already did post on YouTube of Josh Herrin doing donuts in front of his house. You got to watch it. Make sure you log on to YouTube, JL Unlimited, to see that video at the compound, having oodles and oodles of fun. But our bikes do way more than you think they do. They don't just go straight lines. They do endos, wheelies, 80-mile-an-hour turns. How fast have you ever been in a turn? I clocked 108. I clocked 108 at Roebling Roads.
I think Daytona is considered a turn. We're on the banking. We're going 207, I think.
I know from my bike, you was on an R1. So for my bike as an R6 and an old semi-stock 2007, I was clocking 147.
Dang.
6th gear pin, 147. And I mean, I hit international horseshoe at 80 miles an hour.
There you go.
So if anybody who claims that a crotch rocket is a sport bike, get it out your head. It's not. We do a whole lot more than what you think. On that note, we are going to end season 1, episode 1. We're at the Josh Herrin Compound in Dublin, Georgia. We are just about to kick off another round of free riding at the Herrin Compound. We want to thank Josh Herrin for his interview and offering his time and his facilities so we can get everything done. Make sure you hit us up on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, JL Unlimited. Make sure you hit us up. Thank you, guys. We want to wish you a very happy New Year. Today's the 3rd day of the New Year, so we want to wish everybody a happy New Year and good graces on everybody. Peace. See you later. Ride safe.